But why do you think the DOJ isn't doing anything? Because shouldn't they be the ones that are indicting people?
They should. They should. They should.
Who've they indicted?
They haven't indicted a single person.
Really?
So, post Epstein, they said, "Oh, he's a dead guy, and let's move on." They have not released the names of the co-conspirators who they should have indicted. They have not released the names of the people they should have prosecuted, and let alone they've done nothing to investigate these people. And I don't know why. Like they say, okay, it doesn't rise to a criminal level. Well, how do you know if you haven't investigated it? Have you called these people in, and have you asked them questions about where they were, what did they do, what did they know? I don't think you have.
Les Wexner is in this. Now, your your deputy attorney general said, oh, well, he appears hundreds of times in the files, but he doesn't appear in this file until I forced you to release it, where he's listed as a co-conspirator, not to tax evasion, but to child sex trafficking, not to prostitution, not to money laundering, child sex trafficking. So I have several questions for you. Who's responsible? Are you able to track who in your organization made this massive failure and released the victims' names? Are you able to track who it was that obscured Les Wexner's name as a co-conspirator in an FBI document? Do you have that kind of accountability?
We corrected that within 40 minutes. He was already, you're acting like everybody's trying to cover up Wexner's name.
Reclaiming my time.
I'm going to answer this question.
Reclaiming my time.
Mr.
Chairman.
This is how this works.
Can I have my time?
Mr.
Chairman.
The gentlelady can give her answer.
Within 40 minutes, Wexner's name was added back.
Within 40 minutes of me catching you red-handed.
There was one redaction out
where
of
he's
over
listed as a co-conspirator.
And we invited you in.
Gentlemen,
This guy has Trump derangement syndrome. He needs to get, you're a failed politician.
Gentlemen,
You need to get on
you to watch the
matter.
video.
Mr. Chairman, please restore his time.
This morning, he said, "You're all fired." This is people in the meeting.
Wow.
He said, "You're all fired." He said, "I want," and by the way, behind the scenes, Trump used to cuss some. He yelled some. You see when he's hoarse, he goes, "I'm sorry, I'm screaming people." He said, "Listen, motherfuckers, I'm sick of being tied to this shit. I'm the one that dropped a dime on him 18 years ago." He goes, "You're all fucking fired if it isn't fucking released. Do you fucking understand me?" They released the whole list of anybody in his files. They released 3 million more files, and Trump said, "I will fire every goddamn one of you." Because they came to him and said, "Sir, they say your wife's a hooker." All this stuff that was all recycled from 9-10 years ago, which I said it was, and it came out. They said his wife's a hooker. Worked for Epstein. That wasn't true. He had a modeling agency that she was at. She wasn't at that. So they were fucking with him and telling him, "You don't want to do this." They tricked him, and now Trump went thermonuclear. He finally listened to us. He finally listened to Roger Stone and others, and this is historic. And I'm told Congressman Tim Burchett and others have said they have already been access to this, okay? And they said, if you think the Satanism and the cannibalism and the blood drinking is bad and what you saw before, they said what is in these new files is going to shake everybody. And they warned you, don't even look at it if you don't want to have nightmares.
To all units, proceed to your post assignments. All units, proceed to your post assignments.
That's the sound of the police. Whoop, whoop. That's the sound of the beast.
Yeah, baby, it's episode 19 of Probable Cause on February 17th, 2026. Jeff Norman and the FBI whistleblower himself, the very bald Greg Dillon, with us as always. And tonight, our special guest is independent journalist par excellence, Ryan Dawson, the preeminent researcher of everything pertaining to Jeffrey Epstein. And we are lucky to have him here. He has a bit of attitude, but it's not the glasses. The attitude is something else. The glasses are for a medical condition,
right,
which he has explained before, but I think it might be worth mentioning again. Other than that, how you doing, Ryan? I know you're sick of it. You're not doing well. I already know how you're doing. But let me tell you something. Before you answer,
dance on my nerves. Yeah, it's like
let me just.
I'm aware enough to know that. Yeah, I'm pissed off about going blind. That's just like a constant stress. But I'm watching. The same thing happened with 9/11, where I put all this work into September 11th, and the kooks just took it and ran. And I'm watching the same thing happen with Epstein, where they're saying he's still alive and that Maxwell had a body swap because they're comparing a picture from 13 years ago to today and be like, her nose looks different. It's just so dumb. They're saying he ordered sulfuric acid to dissolve bones and stuff like that. And it's just, I don't have the energy to deal with these people again. And then they're asking me to be a debate mercenary and stuff. I'm like, why? I'm the one that got canceled. I got all the heat. I lost all this money. And I got these grifters going on Joe Rogan and Tucker and stuff to talk about Epstein that don't know their ass from their elbow. I'm like, oh no, I'm not going to go win all your battles for you again, just so I can get passed over. Fuck you. Pay me. So I'm mad. I'm still doing the work. I'm still putting out true things about Epstein and Brunel and Maxwell and that whole ring, as well as other pedophiles, even though those stories don't resonate for whatever reason. But I am really tired of the Candace Owensing of these conspiracies. You don't have to make up all this extra crap. Like the sulfuric acid, it's saltwater reverse osmosis. He had ordered it on a schedule. The engineers were there. This is not a thing. They're like, he's dissolving bodies in acid, just like I saw on Breaking Bad.
You like that one?
Not a movie.
There's other ones too. There's the death certificate that was misdated. They made a big deal out of that. Remember, very reminiscent of the 9/11 kooks who made a big deal out of the BBC reporting Building 7. Isn't that very similar? It's like, in other words, it's just a mistake.
9/11, because the 9/11 got to the point where they were like denying airplanes and calling them holograms. Like that's
but I'm talking, Greg. You know what we're talking about, Greg, with the that the BBC reported that Building 7 collapsed before it actually did.
So did CNN.
Yeah, no, I missed that whole thing. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, it was just a mistake, in the chaos of the day, whatever, But the 9/11 kooks were convinced that's somehow evidence that it was planned.
They said that building's gone. That's how New Yorkers talk, and it means as good as gone. And so they weren't sure. He's like, we're getting reports that is falling or has fallen. He didn't know. And then Jane Stanley comes on and says it's fallen while it's behind her in the shot. And then it falls. And then they lost their feed because that was embarrassing. But her co-host had said the opposite. He said, no, they think it's about to fall because the whole thing was on fire. They act like it's pockets of fire because they only show you the north side of the building at 9:30 in the morning. They don't show you the south side of the building at 5 in the afternoon. It was engulfed in flame. It was missing the southwest corner. Every fireman there was like, agreed, that's next. Like, it wasn't a surprise to anybody. But
doesn't matter.
Alex Jones, man. And he just was in that clip you did. He's like,
well, I know,
3 million more. He's very sly with what he just did. They did not release 3 million and then another 3 million.
I think, I don't know if it was intentional or not, or if he was just sloppy. The thing is,
no, it's on purpose. He does this on purpose.
Well,
what he'll talk about the Bindergate thing. That was the first one. The second one is the 3 million.
Yeah. Well, but you got to consider the time of it too. He was in Florida because he said he was going to go to Mar-a-Lago and scream into a bullhorn to release all the Epstein files until they do it. And then, so because he's there, he goes to the Fresh and Fit's show. You guys know Fresh and Fit? That was in the video clip. Alex Jones, are you familiar with that?
Oh no, but I can put
those two guys. It's very strange. Show. They usually have a bunch of girls sitting around like skimpily dressed, talking about all girly sex stuff. But once in a while, they have like a political figure on. And so since Alex Jones was in the neighborhood, he was in the studio, and it was like 11 o'clock at night. So that's why I'm giving me a little bit of the benefit of the doubt, because the news had just broken and he didn't have a chance to look at it, but he should have. And the reason he really should be blamed is because he didn't just say they were released. He started analyzing like this whole fictitious story. You hear him about what's going on with Trump. Fuck it. Release it all. Release it all. This is the biggest news ever. And it's like, come on, dude.
It's the exact opposite. Trump's the one that created Bindergate. It was his executive order where they went out there with a bunch of Zionist influencers and held up white folders, and it was just a nothing burger. It was nothing but flight logs and redundant stuff. I'm not even that impressed with this file release. I had this list out already. before they dumped all these names in the files. And now people can easily go on the website and search a name and, oh, look, they're in it. Being in it isn't even, you have to have I'm in it 11 times, or I was in it 11 times. I'm only in it 9 times.
Everybody who's anybody, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, it's not in any
anybody.
kind of bad way. They're just complaining about me. But like lots of people's names, I think Elvis Presley's in there, because if somebody wrote an email and said something about Elvis, now his name.
Oh
is
yeah,
in the
Janis
file.
Joplin too. Did you see Ro Khanna was talking about that? He was complaining.
People don't know how to read files. They're like, to have your name pop up in a search engine doesn't mean anything, because like anything you say about someone else, now once you say their name is in the file. But that doesn't matter.
Won't you buy me a Mercedes Benz?
All right, we have a statement from Janis Joplin. That's what
Surprised us with that one, Jeff.
I don't know what you're talking about. It just came
feed
from
your head.
No, that's Jefferson Airplane.
Well,
Anyway,
singing in that, but anyway,
no, Grace Slick sang that one. Don't mess with me when it comes to rock and roll trivia, and I won't mess with you when it comes to Epstein stuff or 9/11 stuff.
Oh, I was not confident. I just thought that was her. I'm not a rock historian at all. Like, sounded similar.
All right, so you have had your own. There is no Epstein list per se, which is one of the big misconceptions. Like, why the hell would he make a list of his clients to leave around?
Yeah,
but you made a list.
Doing organized crimes, like, here, let me get a notebook and leave it in a locker somewhere. Like,
right. But you made an Epstein list of sorts that you culled from various public sources, and you did this a long time ago, and you're known for that. So my question is, how close is your list to these 300 names that were just released a couple of days ago?
Well, the 300 names list is stupid. It's got like Elvis Presley and Janis Joplin, like you said. People who Marilyn Monroe's on there. I mean, that list is useless because it's just whoever, any famous name with no context, and they do that on purpose. So like, you see how the people like Reid Hoffman and Jess Staley and people who are on the list and ought to be on the list are like, see, look, I'm on there with Elvis and Marilyn Monroe. This is and they're not.
But in addition to Marilyn Monroe, or as I like to call her, Norma Jean, and these other ones, are the names that should be on there? And
some
that are also on the list?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't even look at it that. I didn't care. I'm like, I already have all these, and you can go in the file and you can like it's very easy to reverse engineer. If you already have this list, it's pretty easy. Just type it in and read about it. The thing is, these are mostly just email communications. That's what they just released. It's not. Well, there is some of the court case, but it's all redacted. We had better information before. The exact same thing that's not redacted. There's pictures in there that have black squares that are already public and available before the file dump. Same thing with the video.
There's maybe you can explain. There's something I don't understand about the redactions. Let me see. I think I might even have it here in the Epstein Transparency Act. Here it is. I do have it. I don't know if you can see that, okay, Ryan, in your current condition, but this is from the Epstein Files Transparency Act. It says all redactions must be accompanied by a written justification published in the Federal Register and submitted to Congress. So I hear a lot of bitching about the redactions, but are they coming with the explanations, or are the explanations not coming? Do you know?
They're not. They're not. If you listen to something Thomas Massey said, it was very revealing. He said they just automatically, I think they used AI for this, but they just automatically redacted all female names as a way of protecting victims. Well, there are a lot of female cohorts, obviously, Glenn Maxwell. There's a lot of them that ran his desk, Sarah Kellen, Leslie Groff. This
is what I don't understand.
Having a machine go through and just wipe out names, and you don't have a written company justification or anything. You just went and redacted any name.
Yeah, but Ryan, this is what I don't understand. All I hear is him bitching about it being redacted. I don't hear him saying they're required by law to do it. Or maybe I just haven't heard him say that. I mean, it seems like that part should be added.
Well, they're required by law to explain why they redacted it if they do, and they're
Yeah,
not.
that's what I meant. I don't know what I just said, but
And
yeah,
they'll
that's what
just
I meant to
say,
say.
well, there's 47, there's like, 47,000 redactions or something like that. And they had computers do this. And they
Yeah.
made mistakes because there were victims' names that still got out. And yet not the perpetrators. I mean, they'll have an email and it redacts who it's from and who it's to. What's the point? And they're admitting criminal activity. Look, man, fine, protect the girl's name. Usually it's a girl. But why are you redacting the perpetrator? If you have a man or woman emailing things that have to do with money laundering or kitty fiddling or whatever the crime is to Epstein or one of his cohorts, or bragging about it or joking about what they did, there's no reason to redact that. But, Congress needs to go through and just get some examples of that, just gather, a couple dozen examples of that and say, give us
Well, that
these
is
names.
somewhat of a plausible explanation that there's just so many they can't really give explanations that quickly. But
Right,
here's,
but I think that's a real reason, but it's covered because they do it anyway because these are all the Trump's donors.
right.
But
All right, well,
excuse
let's
me one second, Jeff.
Go ahead.
I just had
Go
a
ahead.
question because I was trying to do a little research. I felt really at a disadvantage once I started to look on the computer to see exactly how much information is being kicked around on the internet. I mean, there's websites devoted to nothing but the Epstein files. I mean, some very advanced, complicated, thorough websites. But that Nicholas Tartaglione, I mean, he was an inmate, correct? He's not actually a donor.
No, that was his cellmate.
Right.
But he's sitting there saying, I have information. And you have to understand this. Prior to the suicide, which I think was a homicide, there was an attempted suicide. But as soon as they woke him up, he said, my cellmate attacked me. And then he starts changing his story. He said, oh, I just can't remember. Like, what was that about?
Yeah, that's very fishy.
If you wanted to get rid of somebody who's in a jail, you just pay off the cellmate. That's the easiest way to get access to him. He's already got life. It doesn't matter. He can't get any second life added to that. So he doesn't care. A lot of people don't like chomos anyway. He constantly threatened them, and Epstein was complaining about this. And we all knew he was going to die. That's a burned asset. He's absolutely useless alive. And you don't want him to plea bargain or open his mouth. They had to get rid of him. And I was saying that as soon as he went to jail. I was like, he's going to die in there.
Yeah, I never understood why he wasn't in solitaire.
Well, he
should have been in solitary confinement right from the get-go.
They should have had a working camera in his cell. He should have been monitored. This whole the guards were asleep, the cameras that you would need happen to all not work. And then the fact that you have two recordings that you can look at the metadata where they were patched together. And that's mainstream news saying this too. What happened? I mean, if you're pasting video together, that means there's something that's been edited. They didn't film the crime scene or take pictures of it. Finally in the files, you get some close-ups of the sheets. They couldn't find the noose. The forensic evidence doesn't line up with the suicide. The gash doesn't line up. He's got broken bones on his neck. He had 2 autopsies because he is dead. He's not alive. They didn't.
Yeah, that's another one of the kook theories that he's walking around in Israel. So you don't think he's walking around in Israel?
No, and you notice how the kooks attach it to Israel, so therefore all criticism of Israel gets associated with being retarded. See
Is that why they're doing it, or they're just
did the same thing on 9/11? Like the building and plane deniers all say all this bad stuff about Israel. Like he was an Israeli asset. There's no question about that. But he is not alive. They did not go get a other body that kind of looked like Epstein and throw it into the prison while they secretly got him out to do what? He's an absolute liability with no upside.
Right,
he's got all this heat
and
on
wasn't
him.
his brother involved in the autopsy? Wasn't his brother involved in the autopsy?
Yes, Mark Epstein did not believe the medical examiner that said it was suicide. He ordered.
So he'd have to be in on this hoax too. That there was not really an autopsy, and his brothers and
the thing is, if you're in on the hoax, then just don't do another autopsy, and you already have it that way. Like, why add all this extra stuff? He had a second autopsy, and Michael Baden said this is murder. And so, one of the two medical examiners that looked at him said it was murder. The thing is, he backed it up. He gave you the reasons about the bruising and the gash and the broken bones and the force and how like the bottles and things on the top bunk weren't even disturbed or fallen over. And he's just what'd he do? Just kneel and choke himself out? You'd probably just pass out, not die. And everyone knew they were going to put a hit on him. I'm like, oh, there's no way. Look at all the important people he knew and could flip on. He was never going to make it to trial. And this is a guy that wanted to live forever. He like fantasized about freezing his brain and all, seeding women with his sperm and stuff. Like he didn't want to die. He had not gone to court, not gone through appeals. He wasn't even suffering that much in jail because he had enough money to meet with his lawyers 8 hours a day in the air conditioned and just shoot the, and do whatever until his trial. He basically slept there. And
so Ryan, you're saying though you think that first suicide attempt was actually a homicide attempt? If I get you right?
I don't think he was attempting to kill him. If he wanted to kill him, he could kill him. I think he was giving him a message, and the purpose of that was, you're going to sign your money into this trust, and he did, the 1953 trust, and 24 hours later, he was dead. Like, you're going to put your money here, and you're going to keep your mouth shut. And at first, Epstein said, he tried to kill me, and then he realized his position. I'm just going to lie. So he said, oh, I can't remember. And he thought, oh, okay, I did it. Then I can go on a suicide watch, and that gets this guy out of my room, and you have to watch me all the time. Well, he was taken off suicide watch right away, and it didn't matter whether Nicholas was in his room or not, because he could just walk in there anyway, because they're all letting this is a hit. They needed Epstein dead. And
But
Mark
didn't
Epstein thinks Trump pulled the trigger on that.
Yeah, but didn't Epstein's attorney petition to have him removed from suicide watch or not?
Yeah, they're like, oh, he's fine. He's like, but it's mandatory, I believe, like at least 30 days. If someone tries to kill himself, they go on suicide watch, no matter what they say. Oh, I'm fine. But that's not what he said. He goes, I was attacked. And then you get this weird thing where, was he attacked or did he try and kill himself? Like, I think, he is the authority on that. He's saying he got attacked. It's other people are saying, no, you did that yourself. Tartaglione said, oh, I just found him like that. I actually saved his life. Like, no, I don't think so. This is a guy in jail for strangling a man to death and shooting 3 other people.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's dig into
mafia cocaine stunt.
Let's dig into what, productive, what could come out of this that's productive in the way of holding perpetrators accountable. I've been really turned off by the whole witch hunt aspect to this, that all these people who aren't even, has never been charged with anything are having their reputations smeared like quite severely, whether it's Noam Chomsky or this guy Casey Wasserman, the talent agent, who's also head of the 2028 Olympics. Now they're pressuring him to quit. And all he did is have a flirtation with Ghislaine Maxwell about 3 years before any of this stuff was known to anybody. And if this is what's going to come out of it, I don't think it was a good thing at all to release the Epstein files. But I know that you want to hold people accountable. So 2 questions, Ryan. One, do you feel my pain about the witch hunt, the McCarthyism aspect of it? And the second question is, do you have a sense of anybody who might be guilty and what can be done about it?
Yeah, it's a mixed bag because they needed to release the files, but they did it in the dumbest way. And they did it without context, and the public's lost its mind. They're out there thinking they're eating babies, because anything that's on the FBI like tip line, any accusation from whoever is in the file. So if some weirdo says George Bush and Bill Clinton are eating, poop from the intestines of child sacrifices or something, I'm sorry to be facetious about it. I don't know how to handle something that stupid. Then they're like, oh my God, Alex Jones confirmed they're eating babies, beef jerky is code for baby meat and That's the dumbest stuff. But you're right. Like any associate ever who may not have known it. I'll tell you this, even after Epstein got arrested, It's not like everybody knew, like paid attention to that and knew about it.
Right.
A lot of them should have known, but you know,
but it's even. I would go.
They're not following politics.
Yeah, I would go a step further and say, when you talk about knowing, there's a whole spectrum of how much you know and how confident you are about whatever you think you know. You know, like in the case of Noam Chomsky, what would he have known? That Epstein pled guilty to prostitution? I mean, that's not the same thing as trafficking children, right? I mean, and is it? And no matter how one feels about it, like let's say you think it's immoral, the next step isn't necessarily one that's an automatic, which is that
soliciting prostitution with a minor. And Noam Chomsky.
No, but it was a minor like 16 or 17 years old, right? That's what he was convicted of.
Yeah. He's not stupid. They know there's a sweetheart deal. There were 5 14-year-olds in that case.
Yeah, but does Noam Chomsky know that, number one? And number two, who decided that it's the role of civilians to shun people for life as opposed to letting the justice system handle it?
Well, civilians can do whatever they want to do. I mean, if you're if you know someone else is having sex with 14-year-olds when they're 52 years old, and he gets some BS deal from Acosta where he's not punished like he ought to have been, the court of public opinion is like, I don't care. I mean, the law isn't perfect. I don't care if technically it was the 17-year-old and the 16-year-old you got in trouble for. We know what you did, and everyone around you knew this, and you kept doing it afterward. I mean, the cops found the boxes of dildos and stuff at your house. It lines up with what the victim said, with what happened when it was shoved in their anus and all the horrible things you did, you little monster. Like, I don't have sympathy for these people. And I don't have sympathy for these people playing stupid. Chomsky damn well fucking knows what Epstein did and Maxwell did and Burnell did. He's like, well, he did his time and now he gets a clear slate. I'm like, no, he doesn't. And he kept doing it. That's why he got arrested a second time.
I don't know. I'm not trying to defend Epstein. I'm trying to defend Noam Chomsky or anybody. I don't know why you're so sure they would have known. I mean, everybody who's with him. People, I'm thinking like all my friends, and I'm going down the list in my mind.
Because Chomsky wrote about it. He knew about the case. He knew he was a sex offender. He knew. Well, he
doesn't necessarily know that there's anything more than that, though.
Well, if you're going to write about the case and try and restore this guy's reputation and like a letter of recommendation and all that, and continue taking funding for the universities, which is his real motive. He didn't want the money gravy train to end. So he's going to go to bat for Epstein. But he knew that he was banging 14-year-olds because it's all in the case from 2005.
You're saying Noam Chomsky wrote an extensive article about Epstein's criminal charges?
What his statement was, and the statement from his wife was, and his wife called Epstein their best friend, by the way. Chomsky's idea was, look, he made a mistake, got arrested, did his time, and so people who commit crimes and do their time get to start over. Sure.
Yeah, but that's not writing about it as if it's an in-depth article. But
it's letting you know that he knows what the first crime was, which means it is impossible for you to not know that he's soliciting sex from 14-year-olds, and these aren't prostitutes. This is rape. 14-year-olds can't consent.
I'm not saying they can. I'm not defending Epstein. I'm saying I wouldn't assume Chomsky now.
I agree with you. Like, many people just didn't know what he was doing or kind of didn't want to know. And there's a lot of money involved. And so they want to take that and not look too deeply. But in the particular case of Chomsky, he does not get a pass in my book.
I went through in my mind a list of all my friends, and I'm thinking, do I know what's going on in their sex life? Could any of them be up to no good? And it's like, well, I don't think any of them really are. But on the other hand, I wouldn't know.
Right.
Greg, do you know about the sexual lives of all your friends? What kind of porn they like or what their fetishes are or anything like that? Do you know?
Both of them, yeah.
Oh, come on. You have a lot of friends.
Wait, isn't Jeff your friend?
Yeah. Do you know what my fetishes are?
Well, Jeff, we're like several hundred miles apart, so I don't really get to keep close tabs on you, but no.
Oh, all right.
Right.
You mean
And
if
look,
we lived in the same town, I'd have to worry about you peeking your head into my window?
No, I'd have my sources out there giving me some insight.
Oh, all right. I'm glad
I
we're.
like the point you're making. I want to stress, I do agree with you.
Mhm.
And I don't like this witch hunt mentality. I don't like false accusations. And I'm on record, like I defended Kavanaugh, I defended Matt Gaetz, I defended Andrew and Tristan Tate, I've defended Julian Assange, I defended Russell Brand. Like if I defended Bill Cosby, and I started on the wrong side and changed my mind on that one. But like if someone is falsely accused, that's serious. And there are all things are true in this case, because there are some women who are willing prostitutes who are taking a huge payout and they weren't forced to do anything. That's true. Others were groomed. Some it was just forced on them. They ran away the first time it happened. Like you have to look at the specifics in this. And so I understand, like, you can't just throw the baby out with the bathwater, but that goes both directions. You can't point to one girl, who thinks she saw lizards or whatever and say, see, all the girls are crazy because this one is. And you can't do the opposite either, where, well, this one's telling the truth, therefore all claims by any girl is true. No, it's nuanced. But people are light switch brains. It's all one or the other.
Absolutely. And let me show you one example of that. You guys heard me say twice that I'm not defending Epstein, right? I'm just saying that Chomsky didn't necessarily. You heard me say that.
I think you have a legitimate argument about Chomsky too. I just don't agree with it.
No, but hold on. Look at Stefan's comment at the bottom. Stefan in the Bronx says, you say you're not defending Epstein, then what are you defending? See, it just doesn't even sink in. I said it pretty explicitly, didn't I? Pretty clearly.
What he's saying is, you've got 3 million files. You have all these people that if they're in an email about whatever, then suddenly the assumption is, oh, you knew everything they were doing and now you're part of it. And da, da, da. You can't just use one data point and condemn someone like that. The people I put on here is because it's a series of data points that show what they were doing. And the majority of it, it's not the sex side of it, it's the money. They were part of the 1MDB scandal, stealing billions from the sovereign wealth fund out of Malaysia, and that money went all over the place. And a lot of these financial institutions were part of it. And we know, because this is like after the fact, Goldman Sachs had to pay out $5 billion in that scandal. But now we see internal communications from the Rothschild to Epstein, like he's some kind of fixer, to say, like, get us out of this, get us the less or punishment. And he did. They got like
let me ask you to clarify what you just said, Ryan.
Sure.
You're talking about financial crimes that have nothing to do with the sex stuff. So before we get into that a little more deeply, let me ask you, do you see much in the way of the sex stuff, either having sex with children as the crime or trafficking? Do you see much in the way of evidence that can actually be prosecuted?
It's both. Like Jean-Luc Brunel and Glenn Maxwell and Jess Staley and Prince Andrew and Epstein, and there's a portion of that list that definitely had sex with kids and prostitute. They all did that. As far as having sex with adults, like escorts and things, that's everyone anyway. That's how rich people behave. And it's just, okay, it's kind of illegal-ish because, oh, it's not a prostitute, it's an escort. Is it? I mean,
well, it's not even that if they're not the ones who paid. I mean, if Jeffrey Epstein paid, Jeffrey Epstein paid, and Bill Gates is hanging out at the house, I don't think he's taking payments from Bill Gates, is he? Or the prostitute?
Well, that's why you have pimps to be like, I never gave her money. I gave money to this guy, and he gave her money. Like, hey, come on, let's not play dumb. Like, they know what it is. And Bill
Gates, but you just mentioned sex with children. Where did it occur? The sex with children?
Hotels most of the time. Like,
where?
And this is
not the exact address, but like what state or what country?
So, for example, Glenn Dubin and Ava had sex with Virginia Roberts in a hotel pretty near. It was in Palm Beach, and this while Ava didn't have sex. She was pregnant. She got a nude massage, whatever. Like, this idea that they're having sex in his own properties because he had cameras in all the rooms and stuff is ridiculous, because you can't use that. You'd incriminate yourself. You have to explain why there's some teenager in your bedroom with, let's say, Bill Gates, just as an example, What's in the background? Isn't that your house? Why are they in your house? How do you know this girl? Like, you'd been incriminating yourself. They just went to hotels, and it wasn't blackmail. It was more like a reward. It's just, yeah, thanks for doing business. And the harem was this little side quest. They had a Nexium cult. Richard Branson held one of those sex parties happen on Necker Island that he owns. He's doing PR for Epstein in the emails. And these people got busted, went to jail. Keith Rainier's in jail. Claire Bronfman's in jail.
All right, so you mentioned one of the people had sex in a hotel room in Florida, for example. Right. So if that's the case, and if there's evidence of that, wouldn't it be the state of Florida that would prosecute that? I mean, it's a serious crime, but it's a state offense, not a federal offense. So why isn't anybody else saying that? When Pam Bondi gets all these questions thrown at her and she wants to deflect, instead of saying, hey, you didn't ask Joe Biden, why doesn't she instead say, it's a state crime? Why aren't you clamoring to the local authorities?
That individual act is a state crime. I think when you add it up and you have girls, for example, he was trafficking women from Ukraine, and he had bribed the governor of the Virgin Islands by putting his first lady on a $200,000 a year BS job salary to get them visas by enrolling them in schools in St. Thomas that they were not actually enrolled in, just so they could be there, so you could use them to traffic for commercial sex purposes. Like, now suddenly you've got like an international ring. You have passport fraud. You've got a government of the Virgin Islands participating in it. And it wasn't just Ukraine. It was Ukraine, France, And this is the kind of thing they were doing. He was using the modeling agency as another way of getting visas for girls and making all these highfalutin promises. I'm going to pay for your art school and this and that. And then he didn't do it. So collectively, it becomes a federal crime. It's an international crime. But if you narrow it down to, okay, on this day, you had sex with Glenn Dubin in this hotel in Florida, then yeah, that's what Florida can prosecute.
Yeah, well, I guess in most cases, I don't know how often it happened, but if you believe that at least a good percentage of all the allegations are true, I would think that in most cases, these are individuals having sex with a minor, and that is a state crime. And I would think that to the extent there's evidence of trafficking, the list of perpetrators in that category would be a lot smaller. Correct or not correct?
Well, his 2008 ordeal was, he did plead guilty to state crimes.
Right.
The federal government dropped because they already he pled guilty to soliciting a prostitute for the state charges.
Yeah, and he wasn't even convicted of trafficking, but he got a sweetheart deal. But I'm talking about now, all the people now that everybody's making all this noise over. Wouldn't you agree that most of them, I don't know whether there's strong evidence or not, but let's just say it happened for the sake of discussion. Most of them, it would be state crimes. And wouldn't you agree that if there's evidence of anybody in trafficking, that would be a much smaller list?
If you want the list only to the people that were participating in the sexcapades, then that's smaller, obviously, than the ones doing that and doing white collar crimes. But most of the time, it's the same person doing both things.
Okay.
And this is not unusual. If you read what women were saying about Bear Stearns, Goldman, like pick any of these institutions, they've been complaining about this atmosphere and how it works. I mean, DC openly has townhouses they're brothels is what they are. And the UK, same thing. It's like it's an open secret.
Right.
What they do.
All right. Well, take a look at this clip of Jamie Raskin questioning Pam Bondi. I was talking to Greg on the phone today, and I was telling him that I can't stand Jamie Raskin in general. So it's kind of ironic that I think this might be one of the best points or best questions that came up in this circus of a hearing. Let's take a look at that and then talk about it.
You're in law enforcement. We've seen all kinds of evidence of crimes. And when we go over to the Department of Justice for the 4 computers for every member of Congress, we see more evidence of crimes. Will you create a joint task force of the Department of Justice and governors and state attorney generals and district attorneys across the country to investigate the crimes that have taken place against these victims and more than 1,000 like them. The DOJ is not doing its job. Will you create a task force with state and local law enforcement to make that happen?
World's longest pause now.
Gentlelady can respond if she wants to.
She can't figure out what
Thank
to
you,
say.
Chairman. He called Chase Mulligan a wild goose chase and didn't even know who he was. He is a defendant in your own
Chairman,
district who preyed on girls.
Mr. Chairman.
Well, you know what? If he were part of the Epstein investigation, you wouldn't do anything about it.
Online chat rooms.
All right, so that last part isn't really what I'm talking about. It's the first part. Part of the reason I'm harping on this is because I'm criticizing the politicians and the public for not including in their diatribes that the states should be involved. So here,
Well, I mean,
you're asking, let's do both. Let's do both.
A joint task force.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Yeah. Like I think you should have a joint task force and involve the state and local authority. Like that's exactly what you need. It should not just be the federal government.
And it might be the best idea. I haven't heard anybody else amplify it. Now, Greg was in the FBI. You actually participated in joint task force, didn't you, Greg?
A couple, yes.
How does it work exactly with the way the states and the feds cooperate?
In general, although not always, but in general, the FBI is sort of the lead dog in the on the sled, and they have the resources, they have the budget, but they don't necessarily have the local contacts or know the players as well as the locals do. So they come together with this idea of a task force, and it's usually very effective if it's handled correctly. But the FBI brings to bear also the ability to convene a federal grand jury, which that varies by state. Some states have that authority, some states don't. Connecticut sort of splits it sort of in the middle, where you can convene a grand jury, but you're limited to the number of grand juries that you can convene a year. And they're very seldom used, but it's effective because it's like a buffet. You can pick and choose what you like that best serves what you're looking to do.
Right. Now, Pam Bondi, of course, was the Attorney General in Florida. So, but I don't know who the Attorney General is now and what his or her reputation is, or what other states are involved. Can you shed any light on that, Ryan?
Uthmeyer.
And go on. Any reputation?
Florida. He's scum. He's the one that was chasing around Andrew and Tristan Tate. Like, this is the thing. Like, as I said before, I defended them. I defended our mutual friend Scott Ritter. Like, if there's a case where it's BS, I will say it's BS. But Epstein is absolutely guilty. So is Burnell. So is Maxwell. Like, these people did have a pedophile ring, 100%. Jess Staley's being sued about it. Stacey Plaskett's being sued about it. Like, there are ongoing cases still of people involved in participating in the sex ring. In the case of Staley, in Plaskett's case, it's money laundering and enabling and changing the restrictions on sex offenders in the Virgin Islands so he doesn't have to announce where he's going. So there's ongoing cases on all that.
She's terrible, Stacey Plaskett.
This is not the kind of free speech that I know of.
Yeah. Okay. Remember that from when the RFK here, when they had RFK testifying about censorship, and they wanted to ban him from the hearing about censorship.
Right. And when you're mentioning the prosecutions, though, or the trials, I'm assuming those are mostly civil cases that you're referring to, correct?
In the case of Staley, J.P. Morgan's suing him because he worked for them and he was moving money around for Epstein. That absolutely should have been flagged, taking like $80,000 out in cash and per day and stuff. And he was paying girls to be quiet. And Staley also participated. He's communicating with Epstein saying, yeah, I nutted in her twice as soon as she put the costume on, referring to dressing these girls up like Snow White. And he has admitted to having sex with a member of Epstein's staff, a 20-year-old. He says he'll admit to that, but his own mails condemn him far more than that and who he was playing with. So that guy Staley's done. And I think Diamond and those guys, I mean, if you were JP Morgan, like, you got to throw someone under the bus. So they're like, yeah, Staley, it was all Staley. He did that all on his own. None of us knew, we clean, because they had to pay out like $250 million to victims. And they have plenty of lawyers and know what they're doing, and still had to settle it, had to lose that and lost all that money. But because the alternative would have been worse. And so Staley's being drugged through the mud, and I don't have sympathy for him, but he didn't do this by himself at all. It wasn't just him and Epstein that did this. And he's the only one that's kind of confessing and saying, yeah, okay, I did this. I had sex with a staff member, da, 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 da. These other people, they just deny all the way. Even though they're clearly talking about the girls and the harem and all that. They know what he was doing and either did it with them or said nothing, and even though they knew what was going on. I don't have sympathy for these people, but I want people to be very judicious in who they condemn and stuff. You cannot just be lazy and act like anybody whose name appears in that file at all is some kind of kid rapist. You cannot do that. You have to. That's why this list is a lot smaller than the 300 names they put up, because those people, some of those names are of people, I guess we said earlier, not even alive, not involved at all. It's just someone who was spoken about in an email somewhere. That's nothing.
Right. Well, maybe your list could or should be even smaller. I know it's very easy for me to sit here and give you instructions like I'm your editor.
It could be bigger even.
Well, no, but here's what I'm getting at, Ryan, is there's a list of people who, you detect are culpable, but you're not coming at it necessarily from a law enforcement point of view. What I would like
them to do that. I'm like, here's my list. I'm alive. I can tell you why I say this person that. Like, come talk to me and let's figure it out.
And let them do it. Right.
I'm not a judge or anything. So what I write down doesn't matter. It's like, these are
I
my
know,
opinions on this
but
stuff.
it's so much it's an information overload. I'm wondering if there were a relatively small list of the people who you think are most vulnerable to prosecution, not just guilty, and that would maybe take into account what the evidence is and maybe where it occurred. Because a minute ago we were talking about the Attorney General in Florida really can't be relied on if that person is corrupt. But are there any prosecutors anywhere who might be likely to sink their teeth into this?
This is the problem. I mean, to look at an example of like Hunter Biden, they had 50 officers say that his laptop was a fake Russian hoax. 50.
You mean CIA scoundrels? You mean?
Yeah, CIA scoundrels. But like, those are professionals, and they're all saying it's a Russian hoax. They're even blaming Epstein on Russia now, which is ridiculous. And so it's like the rot is everywhere. And like, well, which state attorney general isn't corrupt? I'm like, I don't know. There's so much trafficking in Florida. It's ridiculous. I mean, that's where Epstein was. It's where Joel Greenberg was. You had girls taken from there from Peter Nygaard to the Bahamas and stuff too. Like, it's ongoing. I think a lot of it's because that's where people come illegally, because it's a border state, and some of that's the reason. But the mayors, the attorney generals and stuff, they're all trash. And so it's become a hotbed because they know this is a place where you can get away with it.
Right. So who do you want to talk to?
In like Wyoming or something, probably, but they just avoid doing it over there.
If you had your druthers, who is the person that you would like to talk to that you think might make something happen? Would that be Massey?
Yeah, I think Thomas Massey is the point man on this. And I penned a tweet and saying, here's the people you need to subpoena, because just subpoena his desk girls. And I listed them there, like Leslie Groff and Sarah Kellen and so on. Like,
all right, can you give us like 10 seconds on each name? Like one of them you mentioned was the cellmate. Okay, we understand why that would be valuable. Can you go through the names and tell us about each one and why that would be valuable to subpoena them?
The first girls ran his desk and did his schedule, so they know who all's coming and getting massages and not. Like, they have so much information. They're on the plane.
First girl, hold it. The first name is a guy, Leon Black.
Well, Sarah Kellen.
Well, after Wexner,
Well,
Leon Black. Yeah. Okay, so Wexner is subpoenaed. He's talking tomorrow. So that's been done. He unless he dies before tomorrow, he'll get in. Now he's like 88, 89, something. So he might come in and say, "Oh, I'm old, I don't remember." Who knows what he's going to do? But
Mhm.
Les Wexner financed Jeffrey Epstein. He's put Epstein as a trustee for the Wexner Foundation, which was pushing money into a bunch of Israeli politicians illegally, because Americans and Canadians cannot donate to campaigns of political figures in Israel, but you could pay for an advertising company or a security company, and you know where the money ends up. Like, and that's the kind of thing they were doing. That whole organization started as Haganah. Like these because they call them Jewish groups. They put the word Jew in the name, but it has nothing to do with that. It's all about Israel. And these groups have traditionally pushed money for organized crime and illegal means. That's what that NUMEC map is. I've gone over that ad nauseum, but that's Wexner, and he's been subpoenaed. That's where, for like the first half of Epstein's career in this, he was sort of the sole proprietor. That was his only real client as a hedge fund manager was Wexner. He's the one that gifted him 2 houses, one in New York, one in Ohio, kind of like they set up a company where they're the only 2 employees, and they were building the subdivision in New Albany, Ohio, not New York, and flipping houses. And then what they did is they grossly overpay for something after 2 years so they could avoid capital gains tax as a way of paying for other things, and then saying, "Oh, that's for the house. Like, the house is just worth this much," but it's clear that's not what was going on. Anyway, he's got to answer. He's got a lot of questions you got to ask Leon Black. Why are you giving this guy all this money? What did he actually do for the foundation? Da 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 da. Then that's Wexner. Leon Black, pretty much same thing. He's the new Wexner. He's for Global Apollo. By the way, on the board of Global Apollo is Robert Kraft, who got caught getting happy ending massages and blowjobs in Jupiter, Florida. The girls got punished. He didn't, which is weird. It's either they all get punished or nobody does, but that's not what happened. He fell in love with one of the
usually
girls.
Well, the girl, I guess, is the one who does it for a business, whereas the customer, maybe it's, I don't know.
Well, in this case, these girls were kind of had their arms twisted. They got over, they were from China, and it was like, you got to work off your debt type of situation.
That's trafficking.
Yeah, that's like, look, man, if it was just 2 adults and the girl wants to sell sex, I don't even care that much. I'm like, nah. It's so low on my list,
right,
compared to things that bother me, like flattening cities in Gaza bothers me, like just blowing people up in a hospital.
No, I understand. Yeah,
that does, like that should move the needle more than this.
Right. If they're children, it's a different thing, or if they're adults and force is used, then that changes.
Right. This was the ringleader of that, who I don't think participated. She just ran the massage parlor. Mm-hmm. She did go to. She's in prison. She had her stuff confiscated. Like that side of it was good, but the Johns got away with it, and Robert Kraft went multiple. It's not like he went there and they just started and he didn't have the willpower to say no. And I can kind of forgive that, but then he came back and did it again. So, and this is the important thing about this. If you're getting blackmail on someone, even if you were to record something in your house, I already explained how you can't go to the cops for that because you're incriminating yourself, but you could give it to someone's wife, whatever. They don't care. And that's very threatening. If you're a billionaire and you lose half your money from a divorce, that's a lot of leverage. But
well, anyway, unless you're so kinky that you're doing it because you have like this intense urge to watch it.
Maybe.
That's what do you remember Chuck Berry? That's what he was doing. He had hidden cameras in the restroom. So he was getting off on watching women, relieve themselves in the bathroom, which is pretty sick. But
Robert
the point
Crane.
is he did. Yeah, but the point is he did it, and he kept it for that reason. So, I mean, I guess theoretically that could be a reason Jeffrey Epstein.
Oh, I think the reason he did it, well, one, you need surveillance because if you're an organized crime, you want to film your properties, you need to know who's going in and out of there for a lot of reasons. And, you're making a lot of people mad, but a lot of it is he was trophies. He liked to watch what he did to them over and over. They'd all sit around and laugh about it and stuff. And they cambered the place up. But, you don't need that. Like, if you have communications between the girl and the guy on a device, that's enough. You can also film it in the hotel too, but you're going to have to explain, like, why Is there who put this camera here? Da, da, da. It's not that easy.
No,
But
especially in a
they
hotel.
are dumb enough to do that. Like Charles Kushner did that. Charles Kushner filmed his own brother-in-law and one of his employees having sex with prostitutes at the Red Bull Inn. And you think, what? But he didn't go to the police. He had the police set up the cameras. That's who helped him do it. He went to their spouses, and he went to it because his brother and his sister was going against him when he was doing illegal campaign finances for Governor McGreevey. He was a closet homosexual who he set up with Golan Sapel in Israel. And Miriam said, I don't care that my husband had sex with
in prison. What's the next
going
name?
against you. And Charles Kushner ended up in prison. But so if you're like, isn't that a dumb plot? I'm like, yeah. So that doesn't negate that they did it, because they do dumb things. That's yeah, it is dumb, and that's why he's in jail. Yeah. Well, not now. He got out of jail and he's working for
In
Trump,
fact, the male gender is notorious for doing stupid things when they just can't control their sex drive.
That is normally like it circumvents all reason. All they
except for the present company excluded, of course, but a lot of our other inferior males.
Well, it's the male gender that made the space program and put robots on Mars. Like, we're doing okay, but when it comes to when the brain just turns off when there's circles involved. Yeah, I mean, it's
all right.
just like
Sarah Kellen. What's the story on Sarah Kellen?
Sarah Kellen was so they'll claim she was both a victim and a recruiter, but she, according to the other girls, they're like, nah, she just worked for him. She was a desk girl, so she's doing a lot of his scheduling, flying on the plane with him, and keeping the massage book. We all know what that actually was. She would know details of who was in and out of those buildings, who he's associating with. She would have it all, and no one's questioned her. This is like the Philip Zack of 9/11. Like, he's on film stealing anthrax, and they didn't question him. What the fuck? Like, and it's Groft and Ross and Kellen. They're all the same thing. They have all the same role. These are his eyes and ears. He called him an extension of his brain. So they're like little Maxwell Juniors. And so they'd be downstairs and they'd send the girls upstairs, and they know what's happening up there. They would have numbers. They would have, if they're famous enough, they'd know and remember details of who is in and out of these houses. These are people you need to know, because what we've seen over and over again is many people, like Howard Lutnick, for example, who denies, well, after I learned this, I cut off all relations. I didn't talk Peter Mandelson. And then we found out, no, you didn't. You're still visiting them. You're still having dinner with them. You're still communicating with them all the way to like 2018. So you're lying. So when they're like, well, I never got a massage, I'm like, I think you did. And you know who would know? Sarah and Leslie and Adriana. They would know because they kept the records.
Who's the Connecticut girl? Is it Leslie
put
Groff?
Pressure on them, they'd break. Go ahead. What?
Ryan, who's the Connecticut connection? Is it Leslie Groff?
To who?
Connecticut. Lives in Connecticut, my town, my state.
Oh, I don't know where all they're from.
Because when I was looking up the names, I saw one of them was associated with Yale and lived in Connecticut. So I was just curious what her tie-in was.
Targeted universities, particularly MIT and Harvard. And I think that's because universities get grants to do R&D with private companies on science and tech. And so you can scoop up trade secrets by being a substantial donor to the university. They'll share with you whatever the results are. And that happened specifically this case with John Hanacio. I interviewed the lawyer twice. It's called Microwire, where everything was taken and sold and given to the Israelis that a private company was developing. And this is cutting edge tech that's being used in the Ukraine-Russia war right now. You look it up. It's called Microwire, and they just robbed them. So I'm thinking this is my reasoned hypothesis of why they're targeting all these people in the departments of science and math at these elite universities. Like, what do you gain from that? Like, what does Israel get out of this? Because what's the point of targeting Stephen Hawking, for example, or any of these people? Like, what do you get? They're not writing laws. They're not judges. They're not voting on anything. What they have is what the same thing Robert Maxwell was doing. He was stealing science and tech trade secrets from the Soviet Union and getting them to Israel. And I think Epstein was supposed to fulfill that role. I don't think the Israelis liked his little side quest of sexual escapades, and that's why they killed him.
And Marcinkova was a model or something, right?
Yeah, and like co-pilot or something, I believe. So it was, and a girlfriend. I mean, a lot of these, Epstein basically slept with every girl he worked with, if he could.
Damn.
Yeah.
All right. Did you say anything about Glenn Dubin yet?
Bannon, I think, has been kind of, well, he's done, but Bannon was going to do a redemption tour for Epstein. That's why he did all these interviews. They were about to say, oh, I was a 17-and-a-half-year-old. That is not the real story, but this is the sales pitch. Branson agreed. And it's weird to me that Noam Chomsky and Steve Bannon, who are opposites, and Richard Branson, who's just a hedonist,
right.
3 very different people, but they're all buddies with Epstein and talking about how to redeem his reputation.
Did you see any of that footage that Bannon shot with Epstein?
Yeah, and it just shows how the mask of these people being these like super intellectuals is gone. They're sitting there flexing with high school knowledge and got half of that wrong. These people, Epstein, like Eric Weinstein was correct. Epstein was a cutout. I'm like, yeah, he's a front for Wexner and Black. Duh. The Don doesn't get his hands dirty. Like, you use an intermediary. And that
was your number one takeaway, that Epstein's not that bright. That's what you're saying? That's what you got from
He's not that bright. And the stuff they were discussing was like, not that interesting to me.
Yeah. So Bannon's claiming now that he was just ingratiating himself with Epstein so that he would get him to talk in the documentary. But I don't buy it, because they were obviously rehearsing over and over again, and that's not typical ingratiating at all.
Bannon's a serial liar.
Yeah.
And he should go back to jail. Like, Trump pardoned him, once. That guy is sitting there saying, we could say this, we could say that. It's not authentic at all. He absolutely knows what Jeffrey did and Jeffrey does. He doesn't care. They've got connections to everybody, especially the Israelis. Several prime ministers, president, like, he knows them all. He's got them on speed dial. His lawyers are super Zionists. His financiers are super Zionists. He's on the Wexner board, which is heavily created by the precursor to the Israeli state. Haganah and all these terrorist groups from these people. If you look at the Israeli state, Ben Gurion, Menachem Begin, all these people that become the leaders of the country started in terrorist groups that did the Nakba and physically removed about 800,000 Palestinians off of land where they lived, where they had private property, with some excuse that God gave it to them or whatever, and just stealing and murdering. They steal, they rape, they murder. They don't have a problem morally with what Epstein did. They had a problem tactically with what he did. It's like, dude, it's like drug dealers. Don't dip into your own stash. That's how you screw up. Right. And Epstein John Gotti got too hot, too much attention to him. But his cohorts, they were part of that sweetheart deal. Well, whatever. The public ought to know what they did, even if you can't legally punish them. You still need to know what they did so people can boycott their products and do other things at least.
All right, I want to figure out with Greg and maybe our audience how you can get to Massey. But before we do that, let's just get through the rest of the list. Which names did we get up to here now? Glenn Dubin?
Well, no, Boris Nikolic and Staley haven't. I kind of talked about Staley already, but he was his bank man. He worked at Barclays. He worked at JP Morgan, and he was moving money around for Epstein. He's being sued. He's got a lot of heat on him already. He's kind of confessed to half of it. So he might be sympathetic enough. He might have a shred of morality in him where he would spill the beans and say, look, here's the people I was paying. This is why. I'm sorry. Da, 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 da. But he definitely has a lot of information, so he's someone you need to talk to. Whether he cracks or not, he definitely knows, and he needs to be talked to. Boris Nikolic, who also worked for Bill Gates in the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, is in these communications thousands of times and worked very closely. In fact, Epstein chose him to implement his will should Darren Endike and Richard Kahn be unable or unwilling to. The number 3 guy to implement his will was Boris Nikolic. So he's very close to Epstein, and they plotted stuff together. Like they were even talking about a coup against Putin, which is hilarious to the people saying that Epstein worked for Russia. I actually it's even dumber than that, because they say he worked for the KGB, which hasn't existed since what, 91?
Yeah, right around the time Janis Joplin was high.
Is Arnold Prosperi still alive?
Well, if he's died recently, he might have, but he knew Epstein since they were childhood friends.
Okay.
But if you can,
I thought he passed, but I'm not.
Might be hard to subpoena.
I'm like, this is someone. See,
I told you we should make the list smaller, Ryan. We just did.
2007. He was alive then, and I'm like, well, here's my list. Some of these people may have died. I think like Wexler's got one foot in the grave already. Like he's not going to make it much longer. Like Dubin was probably number 3 as far as financing. Like he moved a lot of money to Epstein as well, and his wife was Epstein's ex-girlfriend. They intimately know his network. They were also there when Bill Gates was at the house in New York, because Bill Gates wrote an email saying very attractive Swedish women and their daughter were there. And by deduction, you can figure out who it was. And that was Ava Dubin and Selena, who was 16, by the way. Doesn't mean she did anything with Bill Gates. It's just you hanging out with people that do pimp children and whatever. But Dubin would know a lot. When Virginia talked about him a lot, he was one of the earliest perps there from the beginning, was Dubin. And this guy is a billionaire who's dating Epstein's ex-girlfriend and going around and participating in this. And this is sick, because like you have so much to lose. Why would you engage in petty crimes like this? You can just buy an escort in Vegas or outside of Vegas, why do you need to go do this with Epstein? And the only reason is because that's where you can get underage. Because if you just want to bang a hooker and you're a billionaire, that's not hard to do. You can fly to Amsterdam if you you go to Thailand, whatever. So like, what is it that was so special about Epstein? The only thing I can think of is because he had kids.
Could it also just be the whole atmosphere?
You just do it all the time, and that was one of the times, and one of the hookers, I guess.
Wasn't it the whole atmosphere of hobnobbing with the other elites and partying and so forth? Not just the sex. Could that be?
You can do that on your own too, though. Like you don't need Epstein. If you're a billionaire, everyone invites you. You know what I mean? Like it's even with the money laundering. You don't think that other people at Bear Stearns don't know how to do these Ponzi schemes? They know, but they'd go to jail, whereas Epstein doesn't. In fact, when his Ponzi scheme with the airlines that he cooked up, well, it was kind of more of like with insurance on the airlines, but whatever. The thing he did with Steve Hoffenberg at Tower Financial landed Steve Hoffenberg in jail, but not Epstein. And this is what happened when you got a guy who's connected to Bill Clinton, who's in a jacuzzi with him and flight. You've got the president of the United States. Nothing's going to happen to you. And when they realize it, like, oh, well, we need this done, get Epstein to do it, because he's a made man. They can't do anything to Epstein. He's got dirt on Clinton. And so he becomes your fixer. And I think this is what was going on. It's like, that's why the Rothschilds turned to Epstein. That's why like all these people, they're like, we did this and this. We need someone to cover it up. Or we need the authority, the regulators to go away. Go to Epstein. Because
Ryan, not to interrupt your train of thought, but a thought just popped into my head while you were mentioning this. Bill Clinton, being a former president, is entitled to U.S. Secret Service protection for the rest of his life.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just wondering, how was he able to take these flights on Epstein's plane without being accompanied by Secret Service?
He can. He just goes and says, "Stay here." There are incidences with Obama and others too, where Secret Service was there. In fact, I have a story with Hillary Clinton in bed with another woman and two Secret Service agents had to barge into her bedroom because of the noise. One of them is a relative of mine. I talked to the other guy because he ended up writing a book, and that was in his book, and I found it and I interviewed him. It's called Compromise. It's on the shelf there. And it's like sometimes Secret Service is there, sees everything, but they don't say anything. The uniformed Secret Service, like, they're loyal to the president. And unfortunately, there are some rumors that even they participated in it. They'd pay him off. So, but apparently when he was going down to Little St. Jeffrey's, he didn't take his detail with him, which is peculiar. I guess he's always on an island. It's Epstein and Maxwell. Nothing's going to happen.
Well, I guess, I think that people can turn down Secret Service in general if they don't want it. So I guess they could probably turn it down on a case-by-case basis as well.
I don't think he could turn it down when he was president, but afterward, I think he can.
That's what I meant. Yeah, afterwards.
Yeah.
Huh. All right. Well, let's before we say good night or good morning to you. We're in Korea now or Japan?
Korea. I'm going to Japan in a few days, though.
Yeah. All right. Well, before we finish, let's talk about how maybe we can get you and Massey together. We just saw that tweet. Are there any other efforts you have made to get to Massey so far?
Yeah, I know several people who know him, and I'm like, man, just tell him to talk to me. And he can accept or reject whatever information, it's up to him. But I'm like, look, here, in my opinion, here's some people you should subpoena. I have other things in mind that I don't put on Twitter because I don't want the other side preparing defense for it. But I'm like, oh, you know what you should say? You should say this. I have a plan, but I need to talk. I don't want to put that out. I want to talk to him and tell him this is what you could do. And I think it would change everything. But
so what's going on with your contacts? How long ago did you ask them to speak to Massey on your behalf?
I've been saying this, but when the files dropped is when I really started pressing him, like, you talk to him on the phone, just tell him about me. And they're like, oh, I will. And so I've got these contacts, and
why don't you just
got a telegram message?
Why don't you just call his office?
Massey, but they didn't give me any details. I'm like,
why don't you just call his office yourself? Get to somebody who's it's not that hard to get to somebody beyond the receptionist, and tell that person that you know these other people, and try it that way.
Yeah, I mean, you can talk to the legislative assistants, and they're like, yeah, I'll pass up the message, but I don't think they do. And when you talk about yourself, you sound like a dick. It's like, oh,
yeah,
right. Like, I need other people to say, you need to talk to this guy. Like, that's more effective.
Right.
Because who am I? Like, of course I could say that about myself. Like, yeah. There's a lot of people calling and acting like they're Epstein experts. And I just get lost in the ether. That's the problem.
That's true. Okay. You're right. I agree. I just can see your frustration that it's not happening yet. Yeah. Well, I don't know.
When I lived in America, I would just go knock on doors. I would just go to DC and show up.
Right.
I can't do that.
Well, that's what our friend Morgan does. And I don't know if she has any contacts in Massey's office, but I'll ask her. But she's always running around Washington and meeting with the congressional people, sometimes the actual representatives and sometimes their staff. So I will ask her. That's about all I can do.
She's got to go from Texas. That's not easy either.
No. She lives in North Carolina.
Oh, really? Oh, I just saw her when she happened to be there in Texas, I guess. But was that in Raleigh? No, yeah, you're right. I was in Raleigh that time. Yeah.
Yeah, she had dinner with you when you were in North Carolina. Yeah.
Yeah, we met. Yeah, with me and my son. That's right.
Right. She lives in North Carolina.
Yeah, I was in the Outer Banks that time. I have family everywhere, so yeah, I messed that up in my mind. Lack of sleep.
That's the only thing I can think of. I mean, trying to get to people who know him. What about you? Got any thoughts, Greg? And no.
I mean, connections are always the best way, but those are just not always easy to make.
I think eventually, I really want to talk to him before they talk to Wexner, and I have a day. The 18th, they drag him in, and I'm like, please talk to me first. And I don't think it's going to happen. We're going to miss this opportunity. It sucks.
Well,
and this would not, if I had not been censored on everything, we would not be in this situation. And these other people that are like well-known, we're talking about, have never been canceled on anything, never been debanked, never had any consequences. Why am I getting all the heat and they don't?
Speaking of which, you're not getting censored now. Like you can say whatever you want about Epstein, even on YouTube. Is that correct?
No, I'm not allowed on YouTube. I'm not allowed on any of it. I can't have a PayPal. I can't use Coinbase. I can't use YouTube. I can't use Instagram. I can't use anything other than Twitter and Substack.
Oh, meaning your own account. But if you're interviewed by somebody else who's on YouTube, they don't censor what you say, do they?
Not always. Sometimes they do. They'll move that video or they'll just demonetize that person's account. So like even that's iffy. Even when I was talking to Ritter and Johnson, then they both lost their YouTubes. You know, and it's like, when I do a show on YouTube, but I'm always holding back my power level because I know what you're not allowed to say, and I'm like, you know, and I'm just like.
But now Scott has a YouTube account. He's back, and I have a YouTube account separate from Scott, but they won't let Scott and I do a show together on YouTube. Have you heard of anything so crazy? I have no idea. But we tried it again a few months ago, and very quickly they took it down. But they never take down any of the stuff he does in other shows, including his own channel, and they leave me alone when I'm, doing my thing.
Because
we're on YouTube right now. We're on YouTube right
robots now. So whatever in the code, like when y'all are together, it's like get rid of this show. But when he solos with the judge or I don't know, whatever other show.
Even, well,
but I'm also one of those flagged people. So, now I just do Substack with Ritter or Rumble or whatever. And that's why I'm trying to encourage people because Epstein knew Boris Nikolic, or he knew Sergey Brin too, from Google that owns YouTube. Like, you're not going to beat these people using their own tools. I understand, use YouTube if you got it. But we absolutely have to start building up the alternatives like BitChute and Odyssey and Substack and so on that will not ban people. You have to. And the competition forces YouTube to be more honest too. They can't just flippantly ban everyone the way they used to because they know they can run to Rumble.
Right. Well, guess what? We're streaming to Odyssey right now, as well as Rumble, YouTube, Facebook, X, and Twitch, all those places. But there's never any action on Odyssey. Also locals, I left that out. There's never any action on Odyssey. We get a fair amount of views on Rumble, but people, for whatever reason, don't give much money on Rumble.
Well, yeah, and this is the problem is if people are honest and you say, when you go to you want to see a video, what do? They go to YouTube. Because it's got such a head start as like the platform. You just go to YouTube. Second place is probably Instagram where they watch reels or whatever. They're not going to Rumble and Odyssey and BitChute to watch videos.
Yeah.
And part of that, like with Rumble, doesn't have any algorithm to suggest videos that are like the video you just watched. There's no searchability. It's good on free speech, but it's not a good platform.
Right. And YouTube has tons. I hate that there's censorship policies, but they do have tons of great content.
There are great videos there. And Odyssey, at least you can on Odyssey, if you search a term, it'll find that video. Rumble can't even do that. I cannot even find my own Numek film, which is a very weird word. It's everyone else that copied my video, put it up. You can find them, but you can't find mine. That has 600,000 views. It doesn't show up in the search. And I've even talked to Chris about it and said, look, like I made this movie. It's on my channel and your search algorithm doesn't find it.
Yeah,
I have to go through my own website where I have it embedded to find the link because you can't search and find these things.
Yeah, no, I know it. Just the other day, Dan Bongino just came back. So I thought, it might be interesting to see what he has to say. And so I searched Dan Bongino and I got results before the real Dan Bongino from fake Dan Bongino accounts.
Right.
That showed up first.
Because they just put whatever's the most recent, which is going to be the copycats.
Well, how hard can it be to just How hard can it be to just change that? I don't know. I'm not a tech guy, but it would seem like
in H1B. No, like they spent all their money on web celebrities, giving out these multi-million-dollar contracts to influencers and degenerates and stuff. And very little on making the platform work. They don't have shorts. They're supposed to have that. That didn't come out. They pay you through PayPal. most of the people who have to use Rumble aren't allowed on PayPal either. So that's useless to them, myself
right.
included. Like,
yeah, right,
you can donate, but I can never cash out because I can't use PayPal.
Oh, so people may be donating to you on Rumble and you just can't touch the money?
It's just sitting there. I can't do anything with it. And I tell them, use Entropy. Don't donate on Rumble, at least to me, because I can't get that. Sometimes I can find someone else who has a PayPal who's honest and be like, look, we're going to hook your PayPal to my account and you cash out. And then on your honor, give me the money.
Yeah, you must have people in your life who you trust. Just use their account.
Well, you can only do it once and then that gets banned. So like you're going to have to kamikaze your PayPal account. And most people don't want to do that. I'm like,
what do you mean? Why can't you do it? Set it up once and then leave it?
My Rumble, then they'll get banned too. And I've asked for Rumble used to do direct to bank. And I'm like, just do direct to bank. They don't. They're using PayPal. And I'm like, well, this now, like, I don't even stream on Rumble anymore. I'll put things, but there's no reason to be live because all the super chats don't matter. It's like, I can't get paid.
All right.
So it's like they effectively banned my, at least the economic side of Rumble because Rumble refuses to use anything other than PayPal. And I'm like, what are you doing? A lot of people are banned on PayPal.
Greg is rich. Can you just do a transfer to his bank account in Korea?
Hey, I'm the guy living in Connecticut. He's living abroad in Korea and Japan.
Oh, you think that's the high life there?
Kind of. It sounds exciting.
I'm going bear hunting next week. If I can see, it might be useless.
if not, it could be a Dick Cheney episode.
Well, I was just doing the drone stuff anyway. I'm not running around with a gun, but whatever. Like, there's a real problem there with bears. And we thought by February they'd hibernate, but they're still coming into the cities, and it's an issue.
Oh, so you're going to be going there on a mission to relieve people from being attacked by bears? Is that the idea?
Well, they're trapping and shooting the bears.
Through drones?
We have drones that make dog barking noises to try, because the bears are mostly hitting farms and they're just like eating all the apples, for example, things like this. And they're doing millions of dollars in damage. So if you can scare them away, that's step one. There's a protocol. Gotcha. You end up shooting them. And even when you trap them, you euthanize them after that anyway. So it doesn't matter. They're dead. But the public's like doesn't want you to shoot the bear. And I'm like, what do you think happens to the bear when we catch it? You know, like it gets the needle and it dies anyway. You can't just take it by helicopter and drop it back off on top of the mountain or something. You know, you have to kill them. It's sad. I like bears. I'm not like a hunter nut or anything, but you know, I'm on team people. They've killed 13 people. They've injured over 200 people. They've done millions of dollars in damage. And this is something Takaichi wants. And, you know, I have a great love for Japan. I lived there for 17 years. I want to protect the territory, and they are being invaded by bears. So it sounds crazy. Like, oh, you're doing what? You're hunting bears? Like, yeah. And they use drones. You can't really go in the bamboo with the drones because like every 18 inches, there's, a pole. But once they come out, you can follow them around. And sometimes they'll go back in, and hopefully if there's a cub, you try and deal with that. You can cage it. But we've shot about 9,000 bears. Like, it is not just a few. It's a huge problem.
All right. Well, it sounds like you need based on that tweet you sent out this morning, it sounds like you need a change of pace anyway. So.
I'm looking forward to it. I just want to go there. I don't want to hear one word in English. I just want to get absorbed in Japan again and go hunting and not have to deal with people saying that Maxwell's a body double or they're,
Well, we have a sophisticated audience. They won't do that. While you're hunting bears, check out Ryan's Substack. It's at ryandawson.org. So that is very easy to remember, ryandawson.org. And on X, at Rye Liberty, RY Liberty. Now, does anti-neocon go to the same place as your Substack, or is that I see under your name?
It's where you can get this or this.
It's for merch.
It's for merch. Antineocon.com is all your gear. You can get your Boycott Israel coffee. It's just regular coffee. I mean, it's better than average, I guess. It's not stellar, but the packaging is amazing.
Oh, they don't inject the caffeine with special anti-Israel chemicals.
Nah, it's like, let's see. You know what? I can't read it anymore. It was maple syrup, citrus, and almond hints.
All
If
right.
you like
Well,
that. It sounds
check
pretty
it out
good.
at
Yeah.
antineocon.com. All right, Ryan. Well, thanks a lot for joining us. It's always a pleasure.
Thanks, Jeff, and thanks for being nuanced on this topic and an adult. Like, it's refreshing to have that kind of discussion instead of they're eating babies. Like, if I think today I'm just stepping away from it. Like, we've got houses falling in the ocean in North Carolina. We might have war with Iran. Like, I think my attention, I did Epstein. I'll let the rest of the world handle that now. I'm going to focus on the next thing.
There you go.
Yeah. I'm done. I'm getting like physically ill from it. Like, I don't.
You get an Epstein
I need a
fatigue.
break. Yeah, I got it. It's the same thing with Gaza. I'm like, I really have sympathy, but there was a point where I'm like, I can't do this anymore. I can't see this, can't look at this, I can't argue about this. Like, I'm so tired of it. You got a mental limit on things.
Disengage and refresh, reboot.
Yeah, I'll come
you gotta
back to
listen
it,
to
but this is like my last Epstein interview for a couple weeks at least. Like, I just
Okay. Well, I'm glad we got it in.
Yeah. Well, Jeff's I consider you a friend, so I'm like, yeah, I'll talk to him, but no more after this.
Same here. Well, like I said, I wanted it to be therapeutic for you, and I hope that it was.
Yelling about Alex Jones is always a type of therapy. He's just he's such a charlatan, and it's the same guy. Every asshole from Loose Chains to Jim Fetzer, like everyone who lied about September 11th did it by going on his show. And you've seen the film I made. Like, I have a legit adult like take on what happened on September 11th, and it's never going to be the mainstream because of Jones.
Yep, I know
He
how
made
you
the
feel.
whole thing a tar baby.
Yeah.
And I'm watching that happen to Epstein now, and I'm like, if you do this to this serial rapist, like, and they're gonna, they are. I'm watching it.
I'm out of
happen every
patience with
day.
him too. He's like the boy who cried wolf. Every single stream he does, it says emergency broadcast. That
Every
alone,
shooting is a bunch of crisis actors, and there's earthquake machines from HARP, and he's like the Illuminati, Luciferian, NWO, compartmentalized.
not a bad impression. Not a
Florida
bad.
Mazaroff, and they took the. Just shut up, dude. And what makes me mad is his followers are just retarded. I know that he knows better. He just does it anyway.
Do you do any other impressions?
Is that an impression?
Yeah, that was good. You sounded like. What about Bernie Sanders? Can you do Sanders?
He's got that kind of thick Yankee accent. So give me something to say. Like,
he's got that heavy Brooklyn accent.
Just use the word oligarch a lot. Every other word is oligarch.
corporations are taking your money. I don't know.
All right, I put you on the spot. All right,
I can do Finkelstein.
All right, my man. Thank you.
I don't want to
consider
hear your crocodile tears.
Who's that?
Norman Finkelstein.
Oh, all right.
He got that Yankee accent too.
Yeah.
No, not I don't do impersonation. It's just like that.
I thought maybe as soon as I heard you do Alex Jones, I thought, I wonder what else.
What else he's got up his
way better
sleeve?
at it, but
yeah.
If I thought about what I was going to say instead of doing ad lib, it'd be a little better. But
Yeah, well, that's half the battle. You don't always have to have the voice perfect, but if you have the attitude and you use certain catchwords. So I gave you oligarch for Bernie Sanders.
You scum. Yeah, he said.
Yeah. All right, Ryan. Take care. I thank you for saying.
Babies. He's just getting nuts. He gets animated. He's like, oh.
Yeah, he's crazy. All right,
Clockwork
take care, man.
Elves and all that. Just
happy hunting, Ryan.
Yeah, man. I hope we get some bears. Actually, I hope we don't have to get bears, but every time we do. So.
All right, give us a report after you do it. Take care, man.
All right.
And I'll let you know if Morgan knows anybody in Massey's office.
We got to do it in like one day. It would be prime.
All right,
So
I'll
we'll
ask
see.
her.
I have
after
I have someone on Telegram who may have gotten hold of him. So I'm like, please
All right.
talk to me before you talk to Wexner. That's very important.
I'll ask her right after the show.
Awesome.
Take care.
Good luck.
Let's see. There we go. All right. Now we can call it a show if you want, or we can do Has It Happened to Greg? Your choice.
Well, we're at 90-minute mark, so why don't we push it over to next week and do some good ones?
That's fine.
Yeah.
No problem. All right. Okay, so tomorrow night is Wednesday. Join us at 7 p.m. for Ask the Inspector. And then Thursday is the Whiners, also 7 p.m. Thank you, Greg, and thanks to our beloved audience. Thanks to Ryan Dawson. Take care, everybody.
Good night.